Usually when we talk about a massive system, whether it's, I don't know, a global supply chain or a professional sports league, there's this sort of built-in expectation of modularity.
Right, like they're just Legos.
Exactly. Like building blocks, you tend to think, well, if there's a problem with one specific block, you just slide it out, replace it with a better one, and, the rest of the tower stays perfectly still.
Yeah, it's this really comforting illusion of a clean, isolated fix. People forget that a multi-billion-dollar athletic league isn't just some piece of software you can patch with a quick overnight update.
No, not at all. When you step back and look at the actual living, breathing ecosystem of professional basketball, for example, suddenly you realize it's not building blocks at all.
It's a spider web.
Yes, exactly. It's a giant spider web. You pull on one single thread, just one little silk strand, and the entire web vibrates.
And you never quite know which other parts of the web are going to snap.
Right. And today, we are grabbing onto a thread that has been so hotly debated for years now. We're looking at the proposal to drastically shorten the professional basketball season.
Dropping it from the traditional 82 games down to 60 games.
Yep, down to 60. And I want to welcome you to the deep dive today because we are going to get incredibly into the weeds on this.
Because on the surface, the math feels incredibly straightforward.
Oh, totally. You cut 22 games, you eliminate those grueling back-to-backs, and boom, you immediately address the modern crisis of player fatigue.
Player fatigue, injuries, load management, all of it.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the mission for today's deep dive is that we aren't just looking at the obvious, billboard-friendly benefits of a shorter season.
No, we have to look at the ripple effects.
Exactly. The hidden trade-offs, the silent costs. Because to understand how a drastically shorter season impacts the game on the hardwood, we first have to understand how it completely rewires the economics off the court.
Specifically for you, the person listening to this who actually wants to go watch a game.
Right. So let's start there. The immediate assumption is that a 60-game season gives you healthier players, which means a more explosive, higher quality overall product on the floor.
Yeah, the intention there is to inject way more meaning into every single matchup.
Because right now, it's a marathon.
It's a total marathon. And teams inevitably sort of sleepwalk through, say, a random Tuesday night game in January. But a 60-game schedule mathematically increases the weight of every single win or loss.
It becomes this really concentrated dose of high-stakes basketball.
Exactly. Every game suddenly has massive playoff implications.
And look, if I'm tuning in on television, I'm thrilled. I'm getting premium intensity every night. I get to see the best players going all out.
Right. From your couch, it's an absolute win.
But there is a massive counterpoint here that our sources highlight, and it's rooted in a very basic, very unforgiving economic principle.
Scarcity.
Scarcity. If you cut 22 games out of the season, that is 22 fewer nights an arena opens its doors.
It's 22 fewer chances for you to actually see a team live.
So let's break down the microeconomics of that supply and demand curve, because it's not pretty for the average fan.
No, it really isn't. The league would be actively reducing the supply of its core product. The inventory of live in-person games drops by, over 25%?
Yeah, over a quarter of the games just vanish.
But the demand doesn't drop in tandem. In fact, if the product on the court actually becomes healthier and more intense, like we just talked about, the demand is going to surge.
High demand, plummeting supply. It doesn't take a PhD in economics to know what happens to the price tag.
Right. When supply decreases but demand remains the same or increases, ticket prices inevitably spike. And we aren't just talking about the massive, high-profile marquee matchups here.
Like the Friday night games against the defending champions.
Exactly.
Because those are already expensive. You kind of expect to pay a premium for those anyway.
Sure, but the sources show that the baseline cost of entry rises across the board. Every single seat gets more expensive.
Even the bad games.
There are no bad games anymore. That sleepy Tuesday night game against a struggling small market team, that game used to be the entry point for, a working class family to go see professional basketball.
Right, like you could grab tickets in the upper deck for $30 or something.
$30, grab a couple hot dogs, and create a core childhood memory for your kids.
Wow.
But in a 60-game season, that low-demand, affordable game essentially ceases to exist. It gets priced right out of the market because every single game is now treated as a premium, high-leverage event.
That makes total sense. Think about it like a band doing a world tour.
Okay, I like this.
Right now, your favorite artist is doing this massive, grueling 100-city tour, and because they're playing so many shows in so many different size markets, the tickets are relatively accessible.
Right, they have to fill the seats somehow.
Exactly. Maybe the acoustics in the stadium aren't always perfect. Maybe the lead singer's voice is a little raspy by city number 70, but you can at least get a ticket in the nosebleeds.
Right, it's a high-volume, accessible model.
Yes. But now imagine that same band announces they're just exhausted from the road. They want to give the absolute best vocal performance every single night.
So we cancel the tour.
They cancel the tour and announce a highly exclusive 10-show residency in one single city. The performances are going to be pristine, legendary even.
But now, a single ticket costs $1,000.
And it's sold out to corporate buyers in 3 seconds.
Yep.
So the question is, does improving the on-court product quietly turn a populous sport into an exclusive luxury experience?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is exactly the cultural shift we are looking at. A sports league relies on generational fandom.
Generational, meaning passed down from parent to kid.
Right. You fall in love with the game because someone took you to the arena when you were 7 years old. You felt the energy of the crowd. You heard the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood.
It's a very physical, visceral thing.
It is. And if you systematically price out the average fan to create this pristine, perfect television product, you completely sacrifice the accessible, communal aspect of the live experience.
You're severing the pipeline of future fans. Like, sure, they can watch on a screen, but the visceral hook of actually being in the building becomes a literal status symbol.
And it fundamentally alters the secondary market as well. We can't forget the scalpers.
Oh, right. StubHub, Ticketmaster resale, all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scalpers and ticket resale platforms thrive on artificial scarcity. When a season is 82 games long, the secondary market is flooded with season ticket holders trying to offload tickets for games they just can't attend.
Because nobody goes to 41 home games.
Exactly, which drives the secondary price down. But if you shrink the inventory to 60 games, season ticket holders are going to attend more of their own games.
Because every game matters more.
Right. So the secondary supply dries up, and the markup on those resale platforms becomes just astronomical.
Man, we always assume better quality is just a universal win. But better is highly expensive, it's exclusive.
It always comes with a tax.
Always. And what's wild is that this concept of scarcity, this, shrinking of available space, it doesn't just affect the fans' wallets up in the stands. It completely reorganizes the economy of playing time down on the court.
Oh, absolutely. It creates a massive scarcity of opportunity.
Particularly for the players who aren't the superstars.
Right. This brings us to the developmental crunch. It's one of the most fiercely debated trade-offs of this entire proposal in the sources we analyzed.
Let's do a point-counterpoint on this, actually, because I want to push back a little on the idea that shorter seasons are bad for the players themselves.
Sure. Let's hear it.
The point in favor of the shorter season is high stakes. We just established that a 60-game season means every single game matters significantly more. The intensity is dialed up.
Way up.
The margin for error for a team trying to make the playoffs is just razor thin. So, theoretically, that environment brings out the absolute best basketball. It forces everyone to operate at peak performance, right?
Well, it forces the stars to operate at peak performance.
Okay, so what's the counterpoint?
The counterpoint is that this hyper-competitive, incredibly high-stakes environment severely damages the development of the rotation guys and the role players.
The guys on the bench?
Yeah, we are talking about the players fighting for minutes at the very end of the bench. The undrafted rookies, the guys desperately trying to secure their second contract in the league so they don't get sent overseas.
A middle class of the league, basically.
Exactly, the middle class.
Yeah.
Let's contrast the ecosystem of an 82-game season with the proposed 60-game season. An 82-game season is just vast.
Right.
It is sprawling. And because it is sprawling, it provides a crucial, non-renewable resource for young guys.
Room.
Room.
It's just space to exist.
Room for growth. Room for mistakes, mainly. Room for a raw young player to step onto the court, totally mess up a defensive rotation, miss 3 shots in a row, and not immediately cost their team a playoff spot.
Because there's always tomorrow night.
Exactly. In an 82-game season, there are nights where the stars are resting due to a brutal back-to-back. Or maybe a team is down by 25 points in the fourth quarter.
Garbage time.
People call it garbage time, yeah. But calling it garbage time completely diminishes its value.
Wait, really? Because usually people just turn off the TV when the backups come in.
For a fan, sure, it's boring. But for a player development staff, those minutes are developmental gold.
Oh, I see.
Those are the live-fire repetitions, where a young player actually figures out the speed of the professional game. They get to feel the physicality of an actual NBA defender hitting them. By cutting 22 games, that development gets aggressively compressed.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let me play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
If mistakes matter more and the coach's leash is shorter, doesn't that just force role players to be sharper from day one? Like sink or swim. If you're going to play in this league, you need to be ready. Aren't we just prematurely weeding out the guys who don't have the mental makeup to handle high-leverage basketball?
That's a common argument, but it assumes development is purely a matter of willpower.
Which it isn't.
No, it completely ignores the biological and neurological reality of learning a complex physical skill. An 18-year-old rookie biologically cannot just be sharper from day one.
Because they're just kids.
They're playing against 28-year-old men who have a decade of muscle memory and tactical pattern recognition burned into their brains. The younger player absolutely needs those low-stakes physical repetitions to build those same neural pathways.
Oh, wow. So if you compress the season, you aren't just raising the standard of play, you are changing the entire environment of learning.
Think about the psychology of a head coach in a 60-game season. A single loss in November is mathematically devastating to your playoff seeding in April.
You're terrified to lose even one game.
Exactly. Yeah. So are you going to put a rookie point guard in the game who might turn the ball over trying to run a complex pick and roll?
Probably not.
Definitely not. Coaches are inherently risk-averse because their jobs are constantly on the line. They will rely on dramatically tighter rotations, playing only their top 7 or 8 highly trusted, proven veterans. There are simply fewer low-stakes opportunities for a fringe player to prove themselves.
Which means if you're a general manager, your entire drafting strategy totally changes.
It has to.
You stop taking big swings on those high-potential, raw athletic fruits because you know your coach simply won't have the runway to develop them during the season.
A compressed season overwhelmingly favors the already polished player.
Like the guys who stayed in college for 4 years.
Precisely. It favors the older, 22-year-old rookie who spent 4 years in a collegiate system perfecting a specific, reliable, low-risk skill, like, spot-up corner shooting.
Because they can just plug right into a high-stakes environment without making chaotic, game-losing mistakes.
Right. But it actively punishes the raw talent. The guy drafted purely on potential, who desperately needs on-court reps against professional bodies to learn the nuances of the game.
So you completely lose the underdog stories.
Oh, completely.
The guy who was drafted late in the second round, who scrapped his way through meaningless minutes in February, built his confidence up against tired second units, and then somehow blossomed into a crucial piece of a championship run 3 years later.
Yeah. The math of a shorter season works entirely against that specific trajectory.
Because without those 22 extra games, that late-round draft pick never gets off the bench in the first place.
Never. He never gets the chance to build that confidence. He sits on the bench, he gets waived, goes to play overseas, and the league completely loses out on a late bloomer who could have been great.
It's amazing how 22 games can literally be the difference between a player having a 10-year career and being out of the league in 18 months.
It's brutal.
And that phrase you used earlier, on-court reps, it connects directly to something else our sources highlight. It's not just about getting the minutes for your career development. It's about the actual physical cadence of playing professional basketball.
The bodily routine of it.
Exactly.
The rhythm of the grind. This is a subtle kind of biomechanical reality, but to a professional athlete, it might actually be the most critical piece of this entire debate.
Because we look at 82 games and we just see pure exhaustion, right? We see players looking heavy-legged in March. We see hamstring pulls.
We see the injuries, yeah.
But within that brutal grind, there is a very specific, deeply ingrained rhythm.
Basketball players at the professional level are creatures of immense routine. The 82-game season is undoubtedly a massive physical tax, but over decades and decades, it has created a specific flow.
Right.
It provides a consistency. There is a mental and physical cadence to playing every other day, or 3 times in 4 nights. The flights, the hotel check-ins, the morning shoot-arounds, the pregame taping. It is a deeply calibrated sequence.
It's a metronome. You play, you travel, you shoot, you play again. Tick-tock, tick-tock.
And the body adapts to that metronome. The central nervous system literally calibrates to that specific frequency of exertion.
Okay, so if you change the frequency of games, say by spreading 60 games over roughly the same calendar window, thereby introducing significantly more time and rest between matchups, you entirely disrupt this established rhythm.
You shatter it.
Which, again, to the average person like me sounds like a massive upgrade. More rest, more days off. I'd love that at my job.
Right, who wouldn't want more PTO?
Exactly. But there's a physiological divide here that the sources point out. We just assume that all players benefit equally from more rest, but that completely ignores how different athletic bodies actually function in reality.
We have to look closely at who actually benefits physiologically from this. There is a stark divide. Some players thrive with rest, while others absolutely require constant repetition.
It reminds me of taking a massive final exam in college.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You have two entirely different types of students. One student needs a full week of absolute rest before the test. No studying, lots of sleep, letting their brain recover so they can walk into the exam room feeling completely fresh.
The crammers versus the resters.
Right. But the other student, if they take a week off, they completely lose their edge. They forget the formulas. They need to be doing practice drills, solving equations right up until the morning of the exam just to stay sharp. If they stop, the rest sets in immediately.
What's fascinating here is that the physical mechanics of basketball operate on a very similar spectrum.
Yeah.
Consider a pure shooter.
Okay, like a three-point specialist.
Exactly. A player whose entire value to a franchise is based on the incredibly delicate muscle memory of launching a leather ball into an iron hoop from 25 feet away. For many of those players, taking 3 or 4 days off between games is highly detrimental.
Really? Just 3 days?
Yes, because they lose the feel of the ball.
Oh, wow.
They lose the subtle, microscopic calibration of their kinetic chain. A jump shot requires the energy to transfer perfectly from the calves, up through the hips, into the shoulders, and out through the fingertips in a fraction of a second.
That's incredibly precise.
It is. And that sequencing is maintained by the nightly repetition. The act of seeing the ball actually go through the hoop in a live game environment under actual, terrifying defensive pressure. If you introduce a 4-day break, that micro-timing gets scrambled.
So a slower schedule with more rest might quietly disrupt a shooter's entire game. They might actually shoot a lower percentage in a supposedly easier 60-game season because they can never find a consistent rhythm.
Exactly. Or consider a defensive specialist whose effectiveness relies on split-second timing and anticipating an opponent's moves. That kind of hyper-reactive timing is often honed in the continuous fire of playing every other night. Your brain is just permanently locked into the speed of the game.
But then you have the explosive athlete.
The exact opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. The player who relies on maximum vertical leap, sprinting speed, the violent, fast-twitch muscle movements, the guy who basically lives above the rim.
For that player, the 82-game grind is a tax that slowly, methodically drains their explosiveness week by week, month by month. Fast-twitch muscle fibers take significantly longer to recover from maximum exertion than slow-twitch endurance fibers do.
So they just wear down faster.
Way faster. For the explosive athlete, a 60-game season with extended rest between contests is a massive, massive biological advantage.
Because they actually get to heal.
They get the 72 hours their patellar tendons actually need to recover. They get to operate at 95% of their physical peak every single night, whereas in the current system, they might be dragging along at 70% by mid-February.
Man, so by changing the schedule, the league wouldn't just be resting the players it currently has. Over time, it might actually change the very biological profile of who succeeds in the league.
It creates an entirely new environmental pressure. You are shifting the evolutionary advantage. The endurance-based, repetition-heavy player loses their structural advantage, while the pure, explosive, peak performance athlete is heavily subsidized by the new schedule.
And if the schedule changes how players perform physically, and it changes who gets playing time, and it changes the fundamental nature of the game on the floor, well, it will inevitably change the statistics they produce.
Which leads us right into the biggest headache for the historians.
A massive existential problem for a sports league. The record books.
The context problem. This is where the debate moves from physiology and economics straight into history.
Because the history of professional basketball is built entirely on numbers. It's built on milestones.
10,000 assists, 30,000 points.
Exactly. We measure greatness by these incredibly specific benchmarks. We compare a player from 1985 to a player from 2015 using these exact numbers. A season tells a story over time, and the 82-game season is the canvas that story has been painted on for over half a century.
And when you change the size of the canvas, the painting fundamentally changes. Changing the number of games scrambles the historical context of every single statistical achievement moving forward.
Let me throw a direct question at you based on our sources. What does a 28-point per game season mean over 60 games versus 82 games? Because 28 points is 28 points, right? An average is an average.
The math is the same, but the achievement is entirely different. Averaging 28 points a game for 60 games is an incredible feat of skill, obviously. It requires immense talent.
Right. It's still really hard.
But averaging 28 points a game for 82 games, that is a feat of skill plus immense endurance plus luck, plus the mental fortitude to fight through the dog days of a grueling schedule when your body is literally screaming at you to stop.
You are factoring in the 4-game road trips in February where you land in a snowy city at 3 a.m. and have to play the next night.
Exactly. Scoring 28 points in that environment, running on no sleep and a stiff back, is infinitely harder than scoring 28 points fully rested after 3 days off.
Think about scoring titles. If a modern player wins a scoring title in a 60-game season, did they actually outscore the legends of the past, or did they just sprint a shorter distance?
They ran a totally different race.
Yeah.
And we are talking about fundamentally altering career totals, too. If a player's prime is defined by playing 60-game seasons, their career counting stats, their total points, total rebounds, total assists, will mathematically never catch up to the players who played in the 82-game era.
Wait, let's do the math on that. If a guy plays 15 years in a 60-game era, he is mathematically spotting the older generation over 300 games.
230 games, yeah.
That's almost 4 entire seasons worth of statistics that simply vanish into thin air, which means the guys playing in the 60-game era will look statistically inferior on paper 50 years from now, even if they were actually more skilled.
Comparisons across eras, which are already incredibly difficult due to changes in rules, training, and strategy, become nearly impossible. You completely lose the common denominator.
I want to ask about this concept of durability, too, because in the 82-game era, there is this deep, almost mythical reverence for the Iron Man.
Oh, absolutely. The guy who never sits out.
Right. The player who laces up his shoes and plays all 82 games. It's seen as a badge of honor. It proves you are tough, reliable, basically unbreakable. If we shift to a 60-game season and a player plays all 60 games, are they as durable as the legends who played all 82?
Yeah.
How do we even measure that concept of toughness anymore?
You can't. It fundamentally redefines what durability means in the context of the sport. In an 82-game system, durability is an active, highly valuable skill.
It's a talent.
It is. It is a defining trait that separates good players from great ones. The ability to absorb physical punishment and remain on the floor is a massive competitive advantage. But in a 60-game system, durability shifts from being an elite skill to just a baseline expectation.
Because the obstacle has been lowered so much.
Right. If you only have to play 60 games, with ample rest in between, playing every game isn't some miraculous feat of endurance. It's simply fulfilling the basic requirement of your multi-million-dollar contract.
You severely diminish the value of survival.
Because the 82-game season is a crucible, it breaks people. Surviving it is an accomplishment in and of itself. By removing the crucible, you remove the specific type of historical glory associated with it.
Wow.
We aren't just changing the present product on the floor. By altering the math, we are actively rewriting how the past is measured and valued. We are severing the mathematical link between the current generation of players and the legends who built the league.
That is staggering. You think you were just giving guys an extra day off to save their knees, but you are actually scrambling the entire mythology of the sport.
It's the spider web again.
It is. It just proves that changing a massive system is never, ever just a simple upgrade. Every time you fix a bug, you inevitably alter the code of something else.
Because systems are deeply, deeply interconnected. When you optimize for one variable, in this case, peak physical performance and maximum television intensity, you inherently de-optimize other variables.
Which brings us to the synthesis of this entire journey. We started by looking at a proposal that seemed flawlessly logical, just shorten the season to 60 games.
Seems so simple.
And as we discussed, it could absolutely make the league sharper. It could make the athletes significantly healthier. It could make the on-court product more intense, more explosive, and undeniably higher quality on a night-to-night basis.
The benefits are real. We can't ignore that the television product would likely be phenomenal.
But as we've seen by pulling on these threads, the cost of that premium product is immense.
It's a heavy toll.
It makes the live experience of going to a game significantly more expensive, turning a populous generational event into a luxury item governed by the harsh rules of scarcity.
Pushing out the working class fan?
Exactly. It creates a brutal uphill battle for the development of role players, favoring the already polished over the raw potential and squeezing the late bloomers right out of the league.
Shrinking the middle class.
It physically disrupts the deep-seated biomechanical rhythm of shooters and defensive specialists who rely on constant repetition. And perhaps most existentially, it scrambles the record books, severing the historical continuity of the sport and erasing the specific glory of the endurance athlete.
So after all that, what does this all mean?
I think it means we have to return to the ultimate thesis here. There is no perfect system.
Right.
There is no utopian schedule where every single stakeholder wins and no one has to compromise. Every systemic solution comes with a profound cost. The fundamental question we have to ask when evaluating change isn't just, would this make the game better?
Because better is entirely subjective.
The real piercing question is, who does it make it better for?
Every change benefits someone and challenges someone else. A 60-game season profoundly benefits the established superstar who needs rest, the television executive selling a premium, high-stakes broadcast, and the wealthy fan who can afford the inflated ticket prices to an exclusive event.
But it actively challenges the undrafted rookie desperate for development minutes, the working-class fan permanently priced out of the arena, and the legacy of the endurance athletes who built the league. That is the lens we have to use. And I want to leave you, listening to this, with a final thought to mull over something that builds on everything we've unpacked today.
A provocative thought for the road.
Yes, if a drastically shorter season effectively prioritizes the health of established stars and the premium viewing experience of ticket buyers, while simultaneously limiting the growth of young rookies and erasing the historical value of the player who could survive an 82-game grind, does changing the schedule merely upgrade the product, or does it actually fundamentally change the very soul and identity of the sport itself?
That's the real question.
When you optimize a game for maximum efficiency and peak performance, do you risk engineering the grit, the endurance, and the humanity right out of it?
A profound question to consider the next time you hear someone offer a simple, clean solution to a deeply complex system.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking at the systems around you, keep asking who truly benefits from the changes, and keep questioning the hidden trade-offs. We'll see you next time.